Welcome to AnimeCons TV. My name is Doug Wilder, and this is our final con report of 2017. I just got back from Anime NYC, which was having its first year in New York City, of no surprise, on November 17th through the 19th at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City. It was a first-year con, but it's not the first of by its organizers, Left Field Media, who have done stuff like this before. It also had the support of Crunchyroll, so it really didn't feel too much like a first-year con. It also wasn't the first time we've seen an anime convention at the Jacob Javits Center. Some of you might remember New York Anime Fest, things like that. And the Javits Center itself isn't a stranger to other conventions. It's also the home to New York Comic Con, which is much bigger. My initial assessment is going to be that I want to see a con like New York Anime NYC succeed, and I want to see it thrive. I'm not sure I want to see it grow. It didn't really make the full use of the Javits Center. It had a kind of a medium to large dealer's room, which you could kind of see a good spread out. And again, didn't use the full exhibit hall space. They had 3 panel rooms, which I would kind of describe as small, medium, and large in comparison to each other. I don't have kind of exact seating counts for each of those, but they all work pretty well. The larger one, obviously, for kind of the headliner panels and presentations and stuff like that. And they also had an artist alley and kind of the upstairs area. If you've ever been to Javits, you kind of go up a small set of stairs, and there's this big atrium, and it's in this big glass cube for half of it, and it's beautiful. You got sunlight coming in. The downside there is you've got a lot of sunlight coming in, so it's a little hard to see. And in that section, it felt a little cramped, so it was kind of hard to move around. Again, it's a beautiful space, but I think they just need to plot out the layout a little bit better. There's also off to kind of one side of the exhibit hall panels area and the main events room, 2 smaller rooms that they were using for autographs, which worked out perfectly because it got lines for these autograph events out of the way, not blocking traffic to other events, but we're still right close to the rest of the kind of heart of the convention. Sometimes autograph sessions at conventions, you'll see, are put all the way on the other side of the building from everything else. So not only are you factoring in kind of the time spent waiting in line, but you're also kind of factoring in travel time, and this worked out perfectly. I mentioned the main events room, which was kind of in one of the lower level, I don't want to call it a basement level room, but it was kind of lower level, and it was just the right size. It was good, it still had a lot of seats, but I only went there for one event, but I never felt like it was too big or too small. It really felt like just the right size. So, on to programming. They had a lot of neat stuff there. They opened the convention with a declaration by a New York City councilman who actually declared it Anime NYC weekend in the city of New York. It was an official declaration, which is really cool to see. Anyone who organizes conventions or just attends them knows that if you have the city showing that the fans are welcome, either through gestures like this or just businesses that are aware and say, hey, welcome attendees of whatever convention, or even hotels making sure that they recognize that people are coming for the event, it really makes the attendees feel like people want them there, people want them around, and they're more likely to come back again and again for year after year. It's something that I think some areas, some other conventions succeed with, and some don't. And it really, unfortunately, sometimes it just comes down to the area, not even the organization of the event itself.
I would like to bring Peter up as we declare it Anime Weekend here in the city of New York.
They had some decent panels. I actually submitted one and got accepted. And I was actually the first panel of the convention, which was a little nerve-wracking for me personally. I was worried that people wouldn't show up yet, but I still had a full room. I'm pretty sure I was in the smaller one. I think if there's anything I would say about panels that they could improve upon, it's that they could have added a little bit more length. Every panel, including industry, was only 45 minutes long, which didn't leave a lot of time for a Q&A. And I would maybe add one or two more panel rooms. I'm not sure where you would put it in that layout. Had the layout without expanding much further into the Javits Center. But I think it would be an area that they could add a little more without kind of hurting the good size they have for the event. And again, personal opinion, I'm not sure 45 minutes is really enough time for even a fan panel, and even industry panels. They felt like they were rushing. And the couple I went to, these were industry panels who even said, "Oh, well, we don't even have time for Q&A. Sorry, guys, we're just gonna finish up." Without a doubt, though, the reason I went to this convention, they announced well in advance so people could plan that they were going to have a screening of the second Gundam Thunderbolt movie, Bandit Flower, and they're going to have a concert attached to it. And this was going to be a premiere event. This thing was a simuldub coming out right at the same time as the movie's getting released in Japan, along with a concert by the composer. And why the concert is such a big deal is the music is done by a man named Naruyoshi Kikuchi, who's actually a jazz composer for the soundtrack. And this concert was fantastic. It didn't feel like a big show. Like if you've ever seen, like, say, Jam Project or Team Revolution or Flow at a convention like that, they put on a very big show. And this didn't have as big an audience, but I'm actually going to say it. As much as I love Jam Project, I would put this as the best concert I've ever been to at a convention. Bigger than Jam Project, bigger than Yoko Kanno. This was just such a neat thing to be able to see the movie and then immediately see music from it being performed live by just kind of a jazz quartet. And especially with Gundam Thunderbolt, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, jazz is not only a cool soundtrack for it, it's actually kind of a major plot point. So it added so much more. And they kept it simple. You had the musicians and you just had either a promo image on the background or on the screen behind them, or they were just repeating some images from both Gundam Thunderbolt movies before in just kind of a stylized way. So it was a lot of kind of less is more, and it was a really neat thing to see. And I'm still kind of coming off the euphoria of just how neat it was. One of the things they offered with this was you could order a premium package that would cost $75, and in my personal opinion, it was worth it. First off, it came with a special print, which was basically just a smaller version of the movie poster about this big. We'll try and toss a picture of it up on the screen, like that. And it wasn't just a flimsy poster; it was a pretty little thicker material, kind of like if you have the cover of a good paperback book. So it wasn't just filming, but it had, the date of the event and everything like that, so you could kind of say I was there. And they also had the foresight to put it, when they were giving it to attendees, they had those nice plastic sleeves, like if you get a nice photograph at it, like a autographed or anything like that, you did it. So kind of you're carrying it for all day, but you didn't have to worry about it getting damaged, which is always something nerve-wracking if you get a special poster or something at a convention. You also got a brand new copy of the soundtrack. It's not the soundtrack from the first movie. This is the soundtrack to the second movie. Again, this is a brand new thing. The movie just came out. And for those of you who get Japanese soundtracks and import them, usually that'll run you anywhere between $30 to $40. And it also gave you a ticket that you picked up to an autograph session after the concert, and guaranteed seating at the concert. And I say guaranteed because you could still line up as a regular attendee and get a seat, no problem. But if you really wanted to see it and you got this premium package, you were seated right away. You didn't have to worry about possibly the room filling, anything like that. So again, guaranteed seating in the concert, and you didn't have to worry about it getting, even though the chances that were rare. A brand new soundtrack imported from Japan, a limited edition print, and the autograph session for $75, which I think is a really good bargain. And again, a couple of friends and I, when we were talking about getting ready for this convention, we were just talking about how good of a bargain this that package was. And again, it was strictly voluntary, that if you didn't want to go through all that, you could still go to the concert and not pay anything for it. So it worked out really well. And that autograph session wasn't just Kikuchi-san, it was every member of the band, which, again, something you don't see very often. The one thing that was a little bizarre about this concert, though, was it was held kind of middle of the day, towards the end of the day, around 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock on Sunday, which this is a very big event for a Sunday at a convention, and that seemed very bizarre. Even more bizarre was after this event, and they had a screening of the new live-action Full Metal Alchemist movie, so that was going even later in the day on a Sunday when most people are going home. Kind of, they don't want to stay too late at the convention because they have to go back to school or have work in the morning, things like that. So I did not catch that movie, but that would be kind of the one thing I would kind of question about it, why they did both of those big events on that day. I could almost understand one of them, but both of them seemed a little strange. But I know I keep saying it, but that concert was, that screening and concert experience, absolutely incredible, and it's something I'm definitely going to remember for a while. And several of my other friends who are big into Gundam like me, we just kind of left the whole experience kind of are amazed how cool that was, and all saying that this was what made us decide to go to the con, and we weren't disappointed. If anything, we almost feel like we set our expectations too low. So, final thoughts for the convention. Again, I will just say what I said at the beginning. This is a con I want to see succeed and I want to see thrive, but I'm not sure how much I want to see it to grow. I think it could easily, especially with the Javits Center, it could grow too quickly, too fast, and either get too expensive for the organizers or start to feel too crowded for attendees. Because time and again we say at AnimeCons TV and on AnimeCons.com, our website, bigger does not always mean better. And I think this is a prime example where they had, a fair number of them, they sold out weekend passes, and I think by the end they may have also sold out Friday badges. But I think their numbers are just right. Where if any much more for people, it would feel a little too chaotic. Not as much stuff to do. It would start running into the problem of people not being able to get into certain events. So I think it's the right size, and I really hope the organizers aim for that, because I think they know where we want it, and it's where it's a right sweet spot. Again, I had an absolute blast. The con organizers have worked on other events, and that really showed. Their experience showed. I'm a little nervous because it's hard to predict how anime conventions will do in New York City. I mentioned New York Anime Fest, which eventually got rolled into New York Comic Con as then as kind of its own programming track, and then eventually just kind of faded into nothing. There's been other things way back when. There was Anime Expo New York and Big Apple Anime Fest, which neither of those exist anymore. So I'm always a little nervous to hear about another convention starting, or another anime convention starting in New York City. I'm a little curious how that's going to happen. But at the same time, if they get more stuff like they did, like they really made almost the Gundam Thunderbolt screening and stuff a track, because they had 2 autograph sessions, which I was lucky enough to get to both because I made a purchase at one vendor in the dealer's room. They mentioned it at the Sunrise panel. They had another Gundam Thunderbolt panel. They had the screening, the concert. So they basically had a Gundam Thunderbolt programming track. Or if they just got something really cool like that again, I would probably go back to this convention. I think it's one worth checking out. And yeah, that's our last con report for 2017. Be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, and all the other good places. We're going to be winding down the year soon, but be sure to keep an eye out for our year in review and other episodes for December. I'm Doug Wilder, and we'll see you soon.